If you say, yes, I want to under section such and such of that Act, I'm not saying it's not good to do that, because sometimes you can find ways through. One of the easiest things to ask for is a copy of the original agreement. It's very unlikely you will ever see this. The government realised that everyone was wising up to the scam that was going on, and so they then brought in a law so they could use a reconstituted agreement, which is basically a blank agreement. They just put your details on. Well, that's because, I'm sure most of you know, that's because they securitise your agreement. So whatever you, say you took a £10,000 loan, you go to the bank, they say, here, fill this loan out. You fill it out, you sign it. As soon as you sign it, you change it into a promissory note or a security instrument, which the bank then sells on, or securitises. So you actually create the money they pretend to loan you. So, why do they use an agreement and not a contract? Because in an agreement they don't have to tell you what they're doing. In a contract they would have to say, what happens is when you sign that, you actually create the money and we just monetise it for you. Now if they said that, you'd go, well, I'm not paying no interest. Here's 100 quid. Securitise my £10,000, give me 9,900. Now that's a fair deal. But of course they don't do this because they want you to pay it back. And interest. And the only way they can sell it is because whoever buys it knows you're going to pay it back plus interest. So it's still money for them. So once you realise that you actually create the money that they pretend to loan you, do you think it's fair to pay them anything back? Does anyone think that would be fair to pay them anything back? No. Exactly. The definite is silent, or the silence is deafening, whichever way around it goes. Now, like I say, we send the 3 letters and we just ask for simple things like the original agreement, original signed contract, because they don't exist, because they commit fraud daily. So if they haven't got a contract, you don't have to pay them back. This year, and particularly this last couple of, 18 months to a year, more and more things have been coming out. In fact, we had a solicitor on the site that was teasing us, saying, oh, you've not found it yet, you've not found it yet. And we were searching like nobody's business for whatever this legislation was. Eventually we came up with a deed of assignment. Deed of assignment is a very powerful document. It has to go whenever any bank or credit card or whatever sells on your agreement to anyone else, it needs to have a deed of assignment. And it needs, if it then gets sold on again, it needs a separate deed of assignment. So there needs to be a deed of assignment each time it's sold on. This deed of assignment, and they will often write back to you saying, we have a notice of assignment. You're not interested in a notice of assignment, it's the deed of assignment. That's where all the good stuff is. And they'll often say it's due to privacy or technicalities or all sorts of rubbish. They don't want you to see it because they know that they commit fraud. To get a proper working deed of assignment, they need to have seen the original promissory note when they accepted it. And they never see the promissory note, the agreement, because it's securitised. So straight away, they break the law, and they know that. This is one of the big things that started to really rock the financial institution when we started asking for this. Then over the last, this year, so it's the last 3 or 4 months, we've started to also ask for the delegation novation agreement. Now some of you, if it's been on the site, you'll have heard of the novation agreement, the deed of novation, the instrument of novation. There's all different connotations around it, but it seems the correct term to use is delegation novation agreement. The novation agreement basically is a tri-party agreement that everyone has to adhere to. So Bank A sells to debt collector B. So Bank A has to be part of this trilateral agreement, this tri-party agreement, which basically says that yes, we agree to selling the debt to this debt collector. Debt collector has to be part of this tri-party agreement, saying yes, we agree to accept this agreement. Anyone know who the third party is? Yourself. You have to agree to it. And of course, you're never going to do that, so that means they're screwed. They are screwed. I haven't actually tried that particular term yet, simply because I don't deal with debt collectors like that anymore. Nowadays, you tried it. I never give advice, I just share my experiences. And yet, there's against the system, he came across it, he'd been talking to a solicitor friend of his, and he provided the information. So, all respect to him, it does seem to be working really well. Now, there's a lot of talk about them changing statutes and acts to get round all the stuff we're doing. At the end of the day, we still ask for the deed of assignment, the delegation novation agreement, they can't provide them because they're fraudulent. It doesn't matter what they do, that's fraud every single day. Every time they're committing fraud. I actually believe that we could probably just ask for them two things on their own and we'd still get the same result. But we know the letters work, so it's up to you if you want to try it, be the guinea pig and try it. I don't have to actually write to any of them anymore. But if you want to, the ones that have tried it have said they've had great success. Some say they even after letter 1 that they're just washing their hands of it because of the information we're asking for now that they can't provide. So again, if you want, I'll just go through it. It's the deed of assignment and the delegation novation agreement. They're the two main things you need to be asking for. And if you're asking for them, I've got a very strong feeling they won't be hanging around you too long. They might send you some paperwork trying to say, oh, this is private or whatever. At the end of the day, if they don't send you what you're asking for, you've got to ask yourself why.
Can I just ask, at what point do you ask for these things? When
I've actually altered the letters and I've put them into all 3 letters. In fact, the last one, I've put them in asking for it, but at the end of it I say, too late. Because by then they're too late. They've had the chance to send it, and they can't send it. They won't send it. They know everyone's waking up to the fact that they're committing fraud daily.
So do you just stop